The most common clandestine activity in human intelligence, or HUMINT, is the recruitment of agents to conduct espionage. Whether those are foreign diplomats, military officials, influential people, or individuals that can obtain access to classified areas or resources, agents are crucial to any HUMINT spy agency. The United States intelligence community has come up with an acronym to briefly introduce the concept of that agent recruitment cycle called SADRAT, which is what we'll be covering today. Welcome to Tradecraft Sunday. Before we start, it's important to highlight that each of the letters of this acronym is an entire domain on its own. Larger intelligence agencies even have dedicated groups focusing entirely on each area separately. Regardless of that level of expertise though, all intelligence officers need to have a fundamental understanding of how this process works, and this is where SADRAT comes in. It provides a consistent terminology and process, although in real life things aren't always that structured and straightforward. Imagine that an agency would like to know through HUMINT the details of a new weapon system that an adversary is developing. The first step is to do some research into all the potential people that will have access to this information, directly or indirectly. For instance, searching on open source and classified databases, social media, and so on, for everyone working in the specific companies, military units, and contractors that are related to this project. Those could be direct access. But also think of maintenance personnel, suppliers, logistics services, etc., who might also be able to get access to the same information indirectly. In modern times, spy agencies also set up fake profiles for job advertisements, side money jobs, and so on, where they could request for people with similar skills and collect potential candidates for recruitment from there too. Now that we have some potential candidates, we need to prioritize them. Which of them are more likely to be recruitable and provide access to the necessary information in the shortest amount of time without compromising the project? And with this much smaller, prioritized list of candidates, we move to the next phase: assessment. In this step, HUMINT officers will start assessing whether those individuals can become a spy. Are they psychologically suitable? How willing are they to commit espionage? What are their motivations? Their vulnerabilities? Is there a chance they are working for counterintelligence and try to penetrate this project, and so on? Throughout this assessment, that initial list will become even smaller, and it's almost certain that during this, several of those candidates would have had some interaction with intel officers operating undercover, unbeknownst to them. For instance, covert surveillance to develop their pattern of life, a new member joining their usual online hang-around places, or even an informal in-person chat while waiting somewhere, maybe a friendly discussion with a stranger, and other similar situations. All of them in order to develop as accurate profile as possible to assess their suitability for this role. Once the top candidates for recruitment have been identified, we move to development. This is where the HUMINT officers will come up with a plan to meet their target in a seemingly random encounter and start becoming close associates. That could be through a common friend introducing them, a random bump leading to a follow-up meeting, joining as a new member to a club, sport, or other group that the target is a member of, and getting closer to them, and so on. This phase can last from days to several years, building an actual relationship with a candidate and constantly giving clues and testing the waters. For example, asking them for something sensitive but not really classified, like, "Hey, my company is doing a survey for people with experience in this field of work, and since you have many colleagues working there, I wonder if you could help me out with some participants. I could probably get this from LinkedIn, but I'm sure you'll be able to provide much higher quality contacts and faster." Also giving gifts, money, always being there to listen to their problems, helping them out, and similar behaviors will create this sort of obligation feeling. Gradually, intel officers can assess whether it's worth continuing the development effort or they need to move on, without blowing their cover, just being a really good listener and friend. Assuming we have a good potential candidate, the next phase is the recruitment. In the majority of the cases, intel officers are quite certain, like 90% certain, whether the recruitment will be successful or not, thanks to the work performed in the previous phases. And this is where they decide how to make their pitch. That is, reveal that they want their target to work for their government, sign an agreement for it, go through any additional background checks and training necessary, and in general, become an agent on the payroll of that agency. In some cases, they might pick the indirect route, like leaving out details of who they work for and focus more on what they want them to do and what they'll get in return. While in other cases, a more direct approach, sometimes called cold pitch, is better. Like, you probably understood by now, but I don't really work for this company. I work for that agency, and we both know you'll be of great value to our team. Of course, we'll ensure your safety and generous compensation. Technically speaking, this is the last phase of the recruitment cycle, since after that we have the process of agent handling, which is another chapter on its own. However, SADR sometimes is also written as SADRAT. What's that T at the end? T stands for termination, and it's an optional step, so usually referenced in parentheses. It means that when an agent is no longer valuable, their intelligence is no longer required, they lost their access and so on, that relationship has to be terminated. Termination is not an easy task, and intel officers are trained specifically on how to handle those difficult situations. The chances of agents compromising their handlers isn't high, since doing so implies that they committed espionage. But it's still a risk, and, when possible, spy agencies don't like burning bridges. They prefer to leave some ambiguity in the air in case there is a chance for reactivation or recruitment in the future. So termination is a delicate process in most cases. We said in most cases because in some you want to make it aggressive and threatening. Let's say that you discovered that someone sold the same piece of intel to you and another 5 intel agencies to make 5 times the money from the same information, or someone was coming up with fake information just to continue receiving their paycheck. Although the chances of any spy agency doing something bad to that person is slim to none, you can be certain that their termination pitch would be very threatening and aggressive. And that was the SADRAT acronym for agent recruitment. As mentioned, this is the theory. In practice, things aren't always that linear and structured. After all, we're talking about human beings, so trying to put everything into well-defined boxes isn't working for all cases. Nevertheless, SADRAT helps new intel officers have a common terminology, understanding, process, and a high-level framework of what it means to recruit spies. Each step of this cycle is a highly complex subject on its own, and this is why there are usually experts for every single one of those areas, although all HUMINT officers are expected to know the basics of all of them. And as we always say, remember that in the spy world, nothing is as it seems.